We are back at it again. Network Plus, five brand new questions to help you pass your Network Plus exam. That's our goal today. Let's see if we can knock these out. Question number 1. You are troubleshooting connectivity between your organization's WAN and the ISP. The ISP has installed a smart jack for diagnostics. During a diagnostic session, you received the following output. What does the output indicate about the WAN link status? What are we looking at for the WAN link status? What do you think? Is it working or is it not working? What are our problems with it? What do you think on this one? I know we're starting off a little bit easy on this one. Not going to spend a lot of time. Not going to spend a lot of time on these questions. Trying to get these below 15 minutes. That's my goal. All right, let's answer this one. If you need more time, you can go ahead and pause this video as we're moving forward. You are troubleshooting connectivity between your organization's WAN and the ISP. The ISP has installed a smart jack for diagnostics. During a diagnostic session, you receive the following output. What does the output indicate about the WAN link status? We see our smart jack diagnostic. We see status, link active, error 0, loop back test successful, signal quality is only at 97%. Let's start with A. The WAN link is active and functioning correctly. Is it? Is it with a signal quality of 97%? Is it functioning correctly? Possibly. Let's put that one off the back burner. B, the smart jack detected signal interference. I don't see any signal interference. There's no errors. We don't see any signal interference. I would say no. C, there is a problem with the ISP's network. We're only seeing a quality of 97%. Does that mean there's a problem with the ISP network? It could. It could, right? I mean, 97%, it's only 3%, but does it constitute a problem with the ISP network? Possibly. So C is the second answer. And then D, SmartJack failed to establish connection. Well, obviously it has an established connection. We see the link is active. We see it's successful. We see green. The only problem is that 97%. So is it A? Is it active and functioning correctly, or is there a possible problem with the ISP's network, given that we're at 97%, not 99 or even 100? What do you think? What do you think on this one? I'm going to give you about 10 seconds on this one, just in case you answered B or D. A and C are our two front runners. What do you think on this one? What do you think? All right. If you answered A, the WAN link is active and functioning correctly, I have some horribly bad news for you. You are good. You don't need to study anymore. I know that breaks your heart. Yes, A is the correct answer. 97%. That's still respectable. Still respectable. If it was down to like 80 or even 60, I would say there might be a problem. Does that constitute a problem with the ISP network, though? No, it could be inside your network, right? We're not even positive about that. So A is going to be the correct answer on this one. And there it is. All right, question number 2. A cybersecurity analyst is reviewing traffic logs for a smart doorbell. The logs show multiple unauthorized access attempts. What should you do to improve the security of the smart doorbell? I know we're getting a little bit of cybersecurity in our Network Plus. We have 2 logs here. We see a timestamp, 1403 and 1405. Whenever I read logs, I like to do a compare and contrast. Especially for certifications, right? We see our source IP address of .15 and then .16, so a little bit of a change on there. Both have been blocked. We see attempted access admin panel on both, and credentials used admin, and then guest. So 2 different usernames and logins, different source IP addresses, timestamp within 2 minutes of each other. Both internal IP addresses, though. What do you think on this one? Give you about 10 seconds as we go through this. And we're going through about 5 more seconds. We're going to answer this one. All right, let's start with A. Disable admin panel access for remote users. Maybe. I mean, if we did that, if we disabled the admin panel, right? So we made it to where you couldn't log in remotely for admin users, it would stop this type of attack from occurring. That is definitely a answer. Is it the best answer? I'm going to say maybe. We'll put that one on the back burner. B, allow guest network access to the smart doorbell. I don't know when I would ever allow my guest network to access my smart doorbell, right? I don't ever see when I would ever allow that. Some people are probably asking themselves, why would you ever put a smart doorbell on an enterprise environment? Well, you'd be surprised what small businesses would do. And remember, there's more small businesses out there than there are enterprise businesses. Be aware of that. right? But B, I can't see anybody doing that, right? Ever. And as a cyber professional, absolutely not. C, place the device on a VLAN separate from critical systems. Ooh, another great answer. By separating it from one system over to another, right, and providing that segmentation in there, then people couldn't access it unless they were in the same department, right? That's the entire thing, and it's away from critical systems so that if someone were to get access to the smart doorbell, they couldn't necessarily have direct access to our critical systems, which is always a good thing. I like C. Do I like C better than A? I don't know. Let's look at D. Change the default credentials and disable unnecessary services. Another great answer. So we have A, C, and D, all good answers. I feel like of the three, let's get rid of one. Of the three, I feel like disabling the admin panel for access for remote users is probably the wrong answer. I feel like you would want remote access for the admin panel, right? You'd want to be able to go in there and change things. If you disable it completely, then how do you get access into it? You'd have to hook a controller up to it, a cable. And most smart doorbells don't actually have that. You have to plug in remotely. So I'm not sure this is actually a viable answer. So I would discount A. It's got to be between C and D. It's got to be between C and D. Those are our two front runners. What do you think? What do you think on this one? Between C and D, I'm giving you about 5 more seconds. Between C and D, if you guessed A or B, take another crack at it. What do you think? What do you think? All right, let's answer this one. If you answered C, place the device on a VLAN separate from critical systems. I hate to do this to you, you're wrong. Why are you wrong? I mean, it's a good thing. You should be doing this, by the way. You should be doing this. But what should we do before we do anything else? We should change the default credentials. Number one thing that we should be doing right out the box to change the default credentials and disable unnecessary services. Both of those are things that we should be doing across our network 100%. And we can see that based on the access, right? Admin, and then guest. Somebody's trying to use default credentials on this doorbell. We need to verify and change the default credentials just to be sure. And that's what we're going to do. So D would be the correct answer on this one. All right. Question number 3, a network administrator is troubleshooting an issue where users on 192.168.50.0 network cannot access a server located on the 10 network. Okay. The administrator runs the following command on the router. What is the most likely reason the user cannot access the server on the 10 network? What is the most likely reason? What do you think on this one? A little bit of networking. I like these types of questions. This is, in my opinion, this is like a true networking question that you should be able to answer. 100%. 100%. What do you think? All right. Shall we jump on this one? Do you need time? Should you pause the video? Go ahead and pause the video. We're going to answer this one. We're going to start with D. We're going to start with D, though. We're not going to start with A. We're going to start with D. The network 192.168.50.0/24 is not properly configured on the router. We can see that it is connected. It's directly connected. We see it on line number 1, 192.168.50.0/24, directly connected, gigabit Ethernet 0.1. Is it not configured properly based on this? No, we can't really tell. I would say probably is not a good answer, though. I would say probably not. C, the gigabit Ethernet 0.2 interface is down. No, it's not. It's up. We see it right there, directly connected. If it wasn't directly connected, we would see a problem with it. And so we don't see that. So C, obviously wrong. B, the server is configured to block traffic from 192.168.50.0/24 network. Is that a possible answer? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. We're not seeing that in our router. Matter of fact, the only thing that makes sense is actually A, the route does not have a route to 10.0.0.0/24. And there isn't. Look at the router IP. We see 192.168.50 and we see 192.168.1, but we don't see a 10 network. And so A is the only one that makes sense. It's not even connected. It's not even in there. And we need to add it in there. So A, pretty easy one. That's going to be a correct answer. All right, question number 4. Security personnel reviewed footage from a security camera and found the following log entry. Based on the log, what security vulnerability is being exploited? And we can see here timestamp, we can see employee ID, access was granted to the main server room, then we see a new timestamp within 3 seconds, no access badge, and the door was opened. So what security vulnerability was accessed? What do you think? What do you think? I'll give you about 10 seconds on this one. What do you think on this one? About 5. And then 2, 1. All right, pause the video if you need more time. The use of weak access control badges. Weak access control badges. I'm not seeing that here. We see that access was granted to the main server room. We see that the employee ID was actually properly tracked. And so I would say no. We're not seeing any signs of an attack, a brute force attack that was successful. So I would say A is probably not a correct answer. B, tailgating by an unauthorized individual. We can see here, based on the timestamp, that we had an individual, employee ID 024578, enter at 9:45 a.m. and 12 seconds. And then we can see that somebody else, an unrecognized person, was detected with no access, which means they didn't badge in, but they were detected, and they went in as well 3 seconds later. Was that tailgating? Was that tailgating? Possibly. B is a possible answer. C, a misconfigured smart card reader. Could it be a misconfigured smart card reader? Did the person badge in and it just identified it as no access badge? Meaning that they didn't read the badge properly? It is possible. It is possible. So C is very much a possible answer. D, failure in the CCTV camera to capture entry. Well, if we look at the question here, we see security personnel reviewed footage from the security camera and found the following log entry. And so we see failure on the CCTV camera to capture entry. Well, it did capture it because security guards found it in the log entry. So that can't be correct. So it has to be between B and C. B and C are going to be our most probable answers. I'm going to be about 5 seconds on this one. And there we go. It's going to be B, tailgating. We can see that. Why is it not a misconfigured smart card reader? Well, because it read the first time. And there's no indication. If it was misconfigured, we'd see multiple entries. In this case, we're not. We can only judge the question based on the logs that we can see. Otherwise, working as intended. That's how CompTIA does it. Remember, unicorns and rainbows, unless otherwise stated. And in which case, there's nothing in the log to say that there's something different. We must then assume that it is working properly, as there's nothing in the log stating otherwise. It's going to be B, tailgating. Tailgating. All right, question number 5, last question for the day. A recent storm has caused flooding in your organization's data center. The incident report includes the following details. Based on the report, what should be your immediate next step to mitigate further damage? We see that the water was detected in the server room, automatic shutdown was initiated, database servers, core switches, and backup power supply were all affected. Current status, water level at 3 inches, equipment offline. So we had 3 inches of water inside of our server room. What should we do? What should we do? What should be our immediate next steps? Give you about 5 seconds left on this one before we move on. There we go. All right, we're going to answer this one. A power on the equipment to verify the systems are still operational. Yeah, that's a great idea. Let's stand in 3 inches of water and turn the equipment back on. Nothing says Sparky like standing in a room full of electrical equipment with 3 inches of water. Oh my gosh, absolutely not. Not only should we not do that, major safety issue. Major safety issue. Man, I could not. No, just say no. B, use water pumps to remove the water and begin drying the affected areas. Oh, I like B. I like B because we see the immediate next steps. We want to bring it back online, so definitely something we should start doing, right? I like B. C, inspect the electrical systems and ensure the area is safe before cleanup. Do we want to use the water pumps before inspection, or are we doing the inspection before the water pumps? That's an interesting conundrum. Did the chicken come before the egg, or did the egg come before the chicken? Interesting proposal. I like both those answers, though. D, notify all employees to continue working remotely until the issue is resolved. Is that really what our next immediate step should be? I would say not. I would even say, you know what, that's not a me issue. That's a manager issue. That's not a thing for me to dictate. I don't do that networking. That's my job is to fix equipment, make sure stuff is working operationally, make sure it's safe. Not a people person. That would be managers. And so definitely not D. It's going to be between B and C. B and C are going to be our front runners on this one. Which one do you think? I'm going to give you about 5 seconds on this one. I think it over between B and C. Answer it if you guessed A or D. All right, if you guessed B, use those water pumps to remove the water to begin drying the affected areas, you would be 100% incorrect. Incorrect. We want to inspect first. We want to inspect. Why? Before I start hooking up equipment and draining out the areas, I need to make sure there's no other issues. I need to make sure everything is powered down and everything functioned properly. I want to make sure that I don't have loose wires in there. I don't want to put water pumps in an area that may actually have static electricity. I want you to think about this, right? You have 3 inches of water. Did everything turn off the way it was supposed to? Is commercial and battery power completely disconnected? Because if there's a current in that water and we start doing stuff, we're in some real issues. And so we need to verify everything is safe before we clean up, before we begin any type of cleanup operation. That's going to be our answer. It's going to be C. I hope you found this helpful. If so, please give me that like and subscribe. We'll see you next time. I'm Dr. K.